So, guys, an area that the Lord is going to have me talking about is what some of you call baby mama drama or baby daddy drama, right? But basically, it's when you share a child and you are having trouble co-parenting. A lot of times, I find mostly men are going through this, okay? And where they have a child, they may be interested in the child, wanting to be a part of the child's life. You had a baby either outside of wedlock, or you are no longer married, and maybe that parent is giving you a hard time by not doing things fairly with the child. And sometimes you have the fathers that they don't want to be a part of the child's life, or not being financially responsible. And it could also be the woman that's not being financially responsible if the father has custody of the child. Now, guys, a lot of times people get into a lot of heartache and pain on these matters. And I've found that some people instead, they tend to get emotional. So they were in a relationship with a person and they find themselves on this hamster wheel in a relationship with someone who is subject to their feelings. If you're supposed to get the child, then she may or may not bring the child, depending on how she feels. If she's upset with you, he may or may not bring the child. They may or may not pay child support, okay? And I found a lot of times when people are married, and if they do get a divorce, there is, because you are married, and if you're getting a divorce, that stuff is automatically a part of the separation agreement. And it normally comes with visitation, the child, the amount that's going to be paid. And a lot of times it's something that the parent can pay without garnishment. However, things can happen and then you have to get it garnished. Now, this is not how the Lord intended families to begin to be in the first place. He set it up that the husband and wife come together, married, and have a child. However, we are in a society based on how people want to do things, what's the societal norms, and then just sins and mistakes that people have made. Well, these are not the days anymore where we would have been drug out to the city limits and stoned to death. Thank God for Jesus, who died on the cross, who will forgive you for these sins, but it does not mean it should be the normal practice. So what normally happens is, and why we find that the Lord has everything, he prefers the unity of marriage, coming together of a husband and wife who are God ordained and placed together, is because you see a lot of the pain that results when families are torn apart, or you have a baby with your girlfriend and then all of a sudden they're acting crazy. So one of the things that I would tell you and I advise you on is to always pray, to seek God. When you're with a person, first of all, let's say you're the woman who her behavior is very random. And if you're not with her, she's not going to let you see your child. And so you're going through a lot of stuff, and she may have this guy around your child and another guy around your child and hiding your child from you. I need you to still yourself and begin to pray. You need to pray to the Lord and ask the Lord to guide you. If you're not already on child support or something like that, I would suggest putting yourself on child support. Now, some of you, for some reason, this is just taboo. You going to put child support on me? What is putting child support on you? It's just your responsibility, right? If you are with her, you're going to take care of your kid. If you're not with her, you're going to still take care of your child. So it's not putting anything on you. But what that does is, if you can go and you can call Texas child support or New York child support, California child support, wherever you are in the world, you can call these people up and you can tell them, listen, I have a child and I need to find out how I can get a paternity test done so I can take care of my kid. And what that does is it's gonna take out a few things. Number one, you get a paternity test. You're gonna know. You get, paternity test, DNA of the child. Once they establish that that the baby is yours, they're automatically going to set up visitation and all of that. If that mother does not follow the laws, okay, and let you see your child, then instead of you getting into these arguments, instead of you having an argument with her boyfriend, whoever she's with, going through the emotional drama, the phone calls, the trying to find her and going to her house and all types of stuff happening, you just make a phone call, and wherever you're at, that state will handle it. And eventually, if she keeps doing that, you're going to end up with that child. But you want to make sure that that's not your motivation, that you want to take the child away from her. And you want to also make sure that it's not about just making a point, and then you're not really about taking care of your child. The state will look at what you're making, the type of money you're making, and they're going to adjust it accordingly. But I would say never try to be a person that's making the bare minimum so that you can own, all you can pay is $10 a month. But let's say that's all you have right now, then you do that. You be faithful in doing that. And then you continue to seek better ways to better yourself so that you can better provide. It's the same thing as you may be a person, the father is not being responsible to the child. And instead of getting into arguments with him and maybe someone that he's with right now and making him, you got to realize you have to be still, and you have to pray and seek the Lord. And a lot of times the Lord's going to tell you how to do things the practical way. For some reason, people always think if they do child support, this shuts the door of any hope of reconciliation, or it's an evil move. It's responsibility. That's what it is. And what it does, it sets up the courts are going to have specific, it sets up a schedule, visitation schedule. The thing about that is you guys can meet up and get the child as much as you want, even more than what the visitation schedule will say. But why the visitation schedule, why that is there, is in cases where one parent decide that they don't want you to, they're mad at you, so you can't see your son, you can't see your daughter. Okay. And so when there's drama, that's when you go back to what does the law say? Because now the person, if they are not letting you see the child, they're not going against you. They're actually going against the state. They're going against the courts. And that's completely different. So I'm just here to tell you, you don't need to be in a bunch of drama. The thing about it is you have to look at it as, the child is not a pawn. And you have to think about that child at all times. A lot of times, I have found that women will play games with men that really love their children. And I have to say, man, when you're going through this to the point that you're losing your mind and everything, you almost have to get to a place where you have to be like, in your mind, it's almost as if you don't have a child. You have to stop yourself from making those phone calls, stop yourself from playing the games and following up with her. And it's when I say this, I'm not telling you in a wicked way. But what you have to do now is focus on what you need to do to ensure that you see your child without the drama. So that process may take a while because you may have to go to the courts. You may have to go speak to, I know they have, if those of you that cannot afford an attorney, they have like some places where you can get some, it's not pro bono, but you can get really cheap, I forgot what it's called. I know someone that's used it before, but they really help people out, if you don't have a lot of money. And then in the area of child support, when you go to the state, they do that stuff for free, if I'm not mistaken. And you would really be honored, and it will go in your favor if you're the one that go and say, okay, I don't make a lot of money, but I want to get myself on child support and everything, and vice versa as a woman. So when those games are going on, you have to put yourself in a position. You have to stop making those phone calls, stop getting into the argument. You may have a woman, she does not let you see the child, but then if she can just call you out the blue, no matter what you're doing, you need to come get the baby, or I'm bringing the baby, because she's going to go do something. And it doesn't matter if you have plans, I'm just coming. You may have someone like that, but then you can't see the child when you want to. And so now you become like this little lap dog, and there's this game like, well, it's your child, you gotta come get him, or else come get her, or else. Okay, you need to slow down, be still, pray, and go to the courts. Go to the courts. The first thing you want to do, you call your local child support office. You tell them what you're trying to do. Get visitation and rights. Get paternity. And she doesn't have a choice. Once they set that stuff up for y'all to come and get that paternity test, she has to bring that baby in. Once it's done, then they're going to do the rest. And this is what you do. And you be a parent. You be the best parent you can be to that child. Don't disrespect the parent. Don't get involved in stuff like that. And sometimes you have to separate yourself when you're with a person that is so combustible, they just don't want to work with you. Sometimes you have to just pull yourself back from it completely. And you may just take your time and set money aside for your child. Do what you need to do. You want to be a parent, but when you have someone that's just combustible, then sometimes you have to completely pull yourself away from it. And just maybe know that you're just going to have to know your child later on, when they get older and if they choose you. Because you will find yourself going through so much that you end up doing something you shouldn't do. You end up being very stressful. There's some women that would have had a child with you so they can keep you wrapped around their finger, and they do a lot of wicked things, and they don't let you see the child. And then if you're with another person, there's an issue, and so there's a game. And so in those cases, as I said, you pray about it, seek God about it. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to seek God about whether or not you need to go and take care of your child and go to court. Okay? You will pray and seek God for anything. But the bottom line is you're supposed to be responsible. When you make agreements outside of courts, I'm going to tell you what happened a lot of times. Ideally, you wish you could do this. When you make agreements and you try to make an agreement with a parent. Now, if you can do that, great. But ideally, when you make these personal out-of-court agreements with a person, it's subject to their moods and their change. There's nothing to protect you from him or her mood swings, or when he's supposed to, bring the child, he does not. When he's supposed to return the child, he does not. He's leaving the baby with random people, or, the baby's at his mother's house, and then the baby's at her mother's house, and then they're not letting you see the child, and all these things are going on, and you just got the child, and now they're upset, and give me my baby back, or whatever it may be. You don't want to be involved in stuff like that. You do not want to be in baby mama drama. And what I find a lot of people, because sometimes they still have these little connections to one another, they end up hurting the child, and because they're only concerned about themselves. So they don't go to court because you put child support on him, or you put child support on her. What is this? What is this? A new type of disease? My brothers and sisters, this is responsibility. You are being responsible. And it is best to go through the state, because I'm telling you, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, that child turned about 13, 14, 15, 16, and that woman or that man think, you know what? All this time, you didn't pay me nothing. You're going to pay back child support. And in some places, they're going to take it out of your taxes. You'll never see a tax returns again. Don't be content, I'm just giving her some money here or there, because guess what? That is not, you could have been giving her $100 a month for the last 3 years since the baby's been born. That does not count as anything in the courts. Okay? And then let's say the state would have required you, the state would require you to pay more than that. You're still behind. So It is best for your own well-being and future to do things through the state, because the state will come up later on one way or the other. You don't want to be that you are established or you're trying to build and all of a sudden you have back child support because at any given time that man or that woman can file it against you, and it's going to go back from the child the day that the child was born. So you want to be responsible. A part of being a Christian, a part of being a believer in Christ is taking responsibilities for your actions, doing the right things. There are things that happens in relationships, and I'll talk about that in my next video. Maybe like when you're having problems with that person, and a lot of times people will try to say, oh, you're a believer, you're supposed to just know. Your first responsibility is to that child. If that parent is doing things that's irresponsible, and I'm not talking about, there's just one mistake, the person forgot to do something. When there have been several instances of the parents being neglectful, negligent, not doing what they need to do, then you're not supposed to be a good little Christian and give them the baby when they've been doing stuff that could be dangerous, and they're not taking responsibility for it. When you talk to them, you have to follow the laws. There's no meeting for prayer meeting when this person is doing something that they should not be doing. Don't let the church or anyone say, oh, don't do that, he's a brother and she's a sister in the Lord. When you're sitting and talking to them and you're trying to get them to, they have done something to endanger that child, and you cannot seem to get to the bottom of it just one-on-one, then you need to do what you need to do as a responsible parent, because that's your role as a parent as well, whether that person chooses to do the right thing. And sometimes that may mean that sometimes they won't see that child. Sometimes you may have to take them to court and get full custody, depending on what is going on. Okay? Because people think when you're a believer, you're supposed to be stupid. Oh, everything, you never take anyone to court. Don't take that one scripture out the Bible for that. Because I'm here to tell you, people back in those days was not doing what many people, the level of wickedness and evil that people are doing today. And so what you want to realize is that you don't want to spend your life as a believer being a baby mama, baby daddy, having baby mama drama, ex-wife, ex-girlfriend drama, ex-husband drama. We need to be in a place that we can, if you're an ex, whether your marriage ended or you had a child out of wedlock, you ask the Lord to forgive you for that. And then you ask him to guide you in how to co-parent and how to raise your child. And at the same time, you still have a purpose, a God-given purpose. You still want to walk in that. So you want to have your house in order. And having your house in order may mean after you have tried to do everything correctly, you need to go to the courts and get everything set up so that you can still take care of that. Still take care of. You want to be a responsible parent. You want to be a good co-parent. You don't want to be cussing out your ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, ex-husband, ex-boyfriend. You want to co-parent as much as possible. Okay? And then when they move on, you don't want it to be that there's this person that's now deciding whether you're going to see your child or not. And that's why it's very important to have the court involved. It is not ungodly. It brings peace. Instead of you having to call that person and get into arguments with them all the time, you can call up the court system and they're going to engage with that person. And so then they will do the right things. Sometimes, guys, it's simply that there's a mediator there and keeps everything level until you both mature. And it's not anything the person is doing against you. They didn't put anything on you. You want to be responsible. You want to take care of that child. You want to be an example, even as you may still be learning to grow and to mature. And then you want to be later on down the line When you are trying to build and you're trying to earn money, it's not being garnished because you failed to take responsibility for yourself, or you trusted her that she's okay taking your $30 a month or whatever you're giving her, whatever random amount that you're giving her. And then one day she's like, you know what, I want more. So now you're getting garnished, and now you're trying to pay off this huge amount of child support. Be responsible. When you have a baby, whether especially out of wedlock, I'm here to tell you, you have to be responsible. You cannot wait for someone else to depend on someone to keep their word on what they're going to do. It's not about just doing a little bit here or there, because when you have that baby in that state and you put your name on that birth certificate, and as mother and father, you are actually the state. You're still that baby's registered in the state, and the state does not recognize any of your little transactions with one another. Because once it comes to the courts or goes to the courts, they're looking back at from when the baby was born. And some of you may, I don't want to do that to her. I don't want to do that to him. It's not about doing anything to anybody. You both keep thinking about yourselves. It's about taking care of your child. Now, some people, they have a wonderful relationship and they're making it work and everything. The father, the mother is doing what they need to do and co-parenting. Okay. The only thing that I say with that is that at some point, someone, whether they move on or a family member, may say to them, did you get child support? And depending on if the relationship stays nice or not, they'll say, I'm going to get child support from you. And they know that you're going to pay a lot, and you will pay every last cent back. Those of you're already behind, I suggest that you just get on the ball and get it going. The courts will not kill you off. They're going to look at what you make, but now you're going to be in a place of paying that back little by little. And if you're consistent in doing that, then you stand a chance of them not garnishing your taxes. I know that this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and you're probably, I'm not going to think of what you're probably doing. This is a part of being a believer, guys. This is a part of being a child of God, that you take responsibility for your actions, that you do your part. And when you do your part, you see, when you do your part, then the Lord's going to do the rest. A lot of people are praying and expecting that your child support amount is just going to disappear. You don't have your house in order. You must have every aspect of your life in order. People want to praise and worship and sing and dance in church, and then they leave things undone in their lives. And then they look at, you had a child out of wedlock, then, this is a sinful situation I was in, and then you just want to escape it. No, you still have a responsibility. So what you do is you pray first, seek God, and then what you do is you ask for the Lord's favor as you go about getting yourself on child support, or as it's getting established, whether she's doing it or you're doing it, and that you will be able to get that visitation and raise your child and be a responsible parent. Many Christians, they consider, I had a baby out of wedlock, and that man will disappear on that woman, and he's a deacon in the church, and he's doing all these great things, and he's looking for a good Christian woman in the church, and then you've left someone over here totally desolate, and you're not taking care of your child. Whether you're with that person or not, you need to be doing the right things, because God sees that too, and that is a part of having your house in order. You may not marry that woman, but you need to take care of your baby, get visitation and pick up your child, have your child spend time, give that parent the opportunity to get a breather, and that's going to be a better environment for the baby anyway. And if it is God's will that you're together, then let it so be. But what I'm trying to do is talk to you guys about avoiding that drama. That drama normally occurs when you guys are trying to deal with things directly with one another, but because they've been hurt in pain or separation, everybody's just thinking about how can I use this baby for my benefit to keep leverage or to get him back or to get her back or to show and teach her a lesson. And that's going to do nothing but destroy the children. All right, guys, I hope that this made some sense. I hope that you guys appreciate this. And in everything, guys, pray about it. You know, this situation may not apply to all individuals, but I'm here to tell you something. As a man or woman of God, our job is to do things. We're supposed to do things even on a even higher level than the unsaved. So you're supposed to be taking care of your child. And woman of God or child of God, you should not be using your baby as leverage to try to get that man to come back to you, or because he did not stay with you, or whatever your situation is, because it's going to come back to haunt you. And there's nothing worse than if after a while that man stopped caring. He stopped caring. You don't want to do that. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt that baby. You know, the only exception I say here is if there's been endangerment in some way, you have to do what you have to do as a responsible party in the relationship. But just hurting the man and doing things you like to see how he can jump through hoops and everything like that, it's going to backfire on you. And God is not pleased with that. You may be doing a lot of things in church, but then you're doing a lot of wicked things with the baby, and God sees that. So get your house in order. Whether you're the father or the mother, get your house in order. This is all a part of being a believer.